as you may know or not, is my first live on Facebook. So it's Dynamis's first live on Facebook, and really the idea is just to kind of have a chat. It's a September reset, so obviously after the summer holidays, getting back into routine, back to work, kids going back to school, and us as well, just actually trying to get back into our normal kind of pace of life, which can take a while. I also think it's a really good idea for actually just setting new goals. It's almost, for me, September, and I said this the other day, is more like a time for setting goals. It's a new year. It feels more like a new year. I think then almost Christmas, or like after Christmas, you know, when we come back in January, because the weather's just really kind of dark. I feel like the energy levels are so much lower. People are actually often feeling quite tired, especially if you are where we are, Brussels, UK, so the weather is obviously not as good. So as of kind of, you know, October, November, it can get really dark. So I just felt like September is kind of a better period, more sunshine, more energy, people are feeling a little bit more refreshed after the holidays. So I thought, why not, let's do a Q&A, come back, and just see how everyone's getting on really as well. So this is just kind of your chance to ask anything. Oh, hi. Your chance to ask anything you want, kind of wellness related. Obviously I'm going to go through you know, some like basics, or what I consider might be useful for getting back into a routine. A lot of my clients have come back after holidays as well, and even myself included. They're like, oh, we didn't work out, we hardly went to the gym, or you know, we did kind of exercise, but it was so much lighter. And I'm always like, you know what, that's really good. Like, I'm really pleased that you're doing that, and I think that's how it should be, because the body does need, and the mind as well, I mean, talking about total fitness, it really does kind of need that break, that time to switch off, that time to kind of deload, to then get back into things. So on that note, what I thought we could do, obviously if you have like any questions, you just shoot them through. I can see them all. I can see you all here, so you just go for it. Some of you sent me some questions in advance, so I'll be going through those too. But otherwise, yeah, let's get started. I don't know if any of you have already got any questions that you wanted to kind of specifically focus on, or anything like that. Just general advice. Okay, here we go. So what I thought we'd do, we go through exercise, a little bit of nutrition, because obviously nutrition supports 70% of what we're doing exercise wise, and then focus on things like, people ask me about sleep routines, building a good sleep routine, and then just my general I don't know, any kind of general questions that you might have. So exercise, one of my clients, I was speaking to her the other day, and she said obviously during summer she hasn't done a lot, and she felt almost guilty for not doing that much. So, you know, we were talking about, okay, well, how can we kind of get back into things? How can we get back into the swing of things? You know, build back that routine and kind of recreate that muscle memory that we have. And my answer to that always, especially, I mean, it doesn't really, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter whether you're doing strength training, whether you're doing kind of more cardio based, whatever. For me, the principle is always the same, is, you know, it's like anything, if you've been ill and you go back into exercise after a break or after a deload, deload, by the way, just means when we have, for example, like in a preparation for a competition, or, you know, a marathon, half marathon, whatever it is, you actually just go much lighter the week before. And the reason being is it's a kind of a pre-recovery and a preparation to allow your body to kind of really prepare for kind of the intense exercise that's going to happen during the competition. So my idea, or my kind of best advice, is to always go light. So start light. If you've already got a routine, obviously that's going to be much easier because you go back to the gym and you basically just almost pick up where you've left off, and you just start basically going back into it, and that doesn't mean when we go back into it, it doesn't mean that we then have to do like everything that we didn't do over summer and we have to go 100%. It might mean just doing shorter sessions. So I don't know, if you usually do, let's say, 45 minutes in one session, then you could split it down and you could do 2 times 20-minute sessions, and you could just begin, which I always advise anyway, is with a warm-up, with a cool-down, and then just when you do your, whatever machines that you normally are used to doing, leg press, for example, just to give the leg press machine an example, because everyone loves the leg press. And if your gym is like anywhere like our gym, you have to literally book your name down. It's like putting your child down for school. You have to like put your name down maybe like 3 years in advance, in the hope you might get that slot. Yeah. So leg press, any of your usual machines, you can obviously go for it, but just start with a lighter weight. Your body will, you'll find, 99% of the times your body will react so much more it will be so much more responsive maybe than you thought it would be. And it has that muscle memory. So that muscle memory will kick back in again. You'll remember what you're doing, and you'll be able to carry on. But always say, say start light, start slowly. Instead of doing, 10 reps, do 8 reps, see how you go, and then build it back up again. So that would be the first thing. Obviously, it's much easier if you already have a routine, if you've been going to the gym before and you've just taken a couple of weeks of holiday and then you're just, getting back on track. I've also got other clients as well, and this is one of the things that I specialize in, is return to exercise after a long break, either due to, injury, due to burnout, anything like that. And obviously this is where creating a routine becomes much more tricky, because it's so much more overwhelming, because it's something completely new. And the most important thing, and I think 99% it really is people have got that motivation. They really want to do it, they just don't know where to start. And of course, when something feels kind of so big and so overwhelming, what we usually do, how the body usually reacts, is just say, what, I'm not going to do it, like it's just too much, so I'm just almost going to go into like, into freeze mode or whatever. So, for things like that, the best thing that I can advise, obviously, you start with a personal it depends what you want to do. No, if you start with a personal trainer, that's a little bit easier, because, you've got that kind of accountability. But for me, it doesn't really make a difference, to be honest with you, if you've got a personal trainer or not. I think what most people want and most people need is that accountability, and that kind of putting the responsibility, almost that thing being like, okay, I don't have to think about it, you're going to take care of that, and that's kind of off my shoulders. All I have to do is turn up. And that's the same principle, to be honest with you, as a group class as well. So one of the things I advise, because some people have got different budgets, people have got different time constraints and things like that. My advice, if you really want to get back into routine, and I'm talking exercise wise here, is number one, it has to, whatever activity it is, whether it's a gym, whether or not, whatever it is, first of all, it has to be something that you actually enjoy, that you're not going kind of because you feel obliged to go. Secondly, it has to be really something that fits into your lifestyle, that's convenient. There's no point signing up for a group class, I don't know, on a Tuesday. You wouldn't anyway, probably, but like if you're working full time on a Tuesday at 3:00, because you're never going to be able to make it, even with the best intention, even if you try and finish early, or you try and take a longer lunch or a later lunch or whatever. Probably that's just not going to be convenient. So that's really the first thing to think about. And then once you've kind of found that class that you want to try out, normally a lot of them do free trials, or they do a shorter version or something like that, or if you're a member at a gym or wherever you go, usually you can just go along. And I think if you make that appointment with yourself, obviously it's quite nice if you can make that with someone else as well, if you go with a friend or you do something together like a workmate. But if if that's not an option or that's not possible, you don't want to actually, I think that the fact that you book yourself into that class, and you put that in your calendar and you say, look, I have to be there because, I've made an appointment with myself. That time is for me, which is obviously one of the other most common problems that we have, is that, we seem to go to the bottom of the pile. So we always seem to put all the other priorities and everything else above us because we can always be doing something, always, always, always. But then, of course, you end up feeling exhausted because you don't look after yourself because you're focusing on lots of other things. So if you don't have a routine, number one, find something that you would like to do. Number two, make yourself accountable. Either go with a friend or go by yourself, but book it up. And, if you pay for it as well, it's even more likely that you're going to go. So I really advise that if you're looking for a gym as well, again, it has to be everything has to be convenient because of our pace of life at the moment, which is crazy, and which is why there are so many cases of burnout. Everything has to really be quick and convenient, and just you don't have to think, because we have to think about so many other things at the moment, that not having to think is actually such a luxury. So yeah, these are my kind of top tips for getting back into routine, exercise wise. What else? What are you all saying? Yeah, so you can combine, there is no problem. You can, of course, combine. You don't have to do all strength or all cardio, whatever. I always say it's nice to do a mixture of both. Cardio and strength, both equally important to each other. Strength for really building lean muscle, and also preventing osteoporosis, because as of the age of 30 already, our bone density really decreases. So why do we do strength training? It's not really aesthetic is the secondary goal. The first goal is really building and supporting bone mass, bone density, and going for longevity, because we want to live for the best possible, in the best possible condition for the most amount of time. Cardio, equally important, because the heart is a muscle. It also needs working. It needs conditioning. So it's really important to combine both types of exercise, but 100% one is not better than the other by any means. Wow, we're whizzing through these, aren't we? I hope this is all making sense. As I said, this is the first time I've done a live, which isn't actually really that much more different from a Zoom, but yeah, normally obviously I do these more in person and things like that. So as I said, please keep sending in your questions. If there's anything, just let me know, and please stop me as well, because as you can see, I can also talk for England, so we could be here until tomorrow probably, because I feel so passionate. I just absolutely love doing stuff like this. So yeah, so that's a little bit kind of exercise wise. And then some of you have asked me as well, some of my clients, nutrition wise, and a lot of, and men and women, by the way, this isn't just females, men and women, specifically really focusing on actually obtaining kind of a stronger core, reducing belly fat, that kind of thing. One of you's just written a question. Sorry, I'm just having a little look. I'm going to multitask. Oh, okay, good. So somebody's just asked that she has an aunt who is quite senior, and she also has some issues, arthritis, that she needs to get her diet in order, and also wants some light exercise tips. I mean, I think already fantastic. She's more than 80 years old, which is really impressive. I think, I love it when I go to the gym and you see the elderly people, more, let's say, how old is old nowadays? Well, for me, you know, you're only ever as old as you think. But, you know, I think it's really important, especially when you reach that kind of age, the fact that you want to work out and you exercise is really important. Obviously, if you have things like arthritis, it's really important to, I mean, ideally to see a physio. If you don't have a, you know, physio, or, you know, that's also not possible, I would really advise something just but extremely light. I don't know, obviously, if your aunt is able to, how her walking is, but, and actually this applies to everyone, you know, if you don't have a gym, if you don't have a group class, if you just don't have time, or you don't want to do any of that, the best thing you can do is just keep active, move, actually. Most of our exercise calories are not consumed, you know, by the 10% of the time that we go in the gym. Actually, we burn the most energy in what we do outside, obviously according to our the person who just asked that question said that she's a little bit lazy. Okay, well, maybe you can encourage her to go for a walk. I love it. I hope your aunt's not on here too. But if she is, what I would advise is for you know, if you can, maybe to spend some time and do it as something that you can do together. You know, I think this is it goes back to accountability, you know, and this is the thing, these principles, it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old, if you're 100 years old, does not matter. It's all about accountability. So if you can support your aunt, and I always think this is the case as well. I mean, me, like, for example, during COVID, my mum and I, we were accountability partners. So even if I was in Brussels, she was in the UK, it's about having that kind of set appointment with each other, or setting a time with each other. So maybe with your aunt, for example, you can do the same, is, you know, go to her house, or you agree that, you know, you'll come over and you can just do even like a light walk, even if she can't go outside, but even just moving a little bit around the house, even if you cook something together or she can help you, that is still keeping active. Putting something on the shelf, that is still keeping active, and that is so much better. You know, I always say there's never, something is always better than absolutely nothing, you know, than being sat on the sofa. And this is how the joint seize up as well, and obviously if she's got arthritis, that's not going to be you know, good for her arthritis. So any kind of movement, even if it's just around the house, when you're coming, you cook something together, you walk to the living room, you walk back to the kitchen, you go back, she's lifting, I don't know, tray or whatever, that is so much better. And I think for the mind as well, and this is what we'll come on to talk about, is that it's just, you know, there's no price on exercise and the support that it has for your mind. I mean, total fitness really is that philosophy, and is obviously what Dynamis promotes, what I truly believe in through my own experience. But, you know, it's always about this mind and body connection to support us. So I hope that helps. You'll have to let me know how you get on with your aunt. I'll be really curious to know, and I hope that kind of helps her a little bit as well. So what were we talking about? Yeah, so we've done a little bit of exercise. Obviously, this isn't like a closed chapter, so if you've got questions, just keep asking them, and we'll go back onto them afterwards. But I wanted to touch a little bit upon nutrition. I think that's what we were talking about before, actually. People always say, how can I get abs? How can I lose body fat? How can I, whatever, you know, how can I set up my diet after the summer where everything's been really out of routine? I might have put on a few more kilos. I might just feel a bit more bloated, actually, because you tend to eat, you know, when you're on holiday, obviously it's very warm weather normally as well, or, you know, different environment, and, you know, you tend to feel a little bit bloated because you're eating food which is slightly different from what you're used to. If you're in somewhere like an all-inclusive, well, I mean, you just enjoy that all-inclusive, because, you know, you're on holiday, you want to relax, you want to have fun and everything like that. And that's really, and also that's also what it is about. You know, we can't always be sort of machines all the time. So how to get back from that kind of holiday vibe, maybe feeling bloated or whatever, how to get back into into your routine. Again, I think one of the biggest, you know, life hacks that helps me is actually meal prep. And it always, you know, and people say, oh, meal prep, you know, it gives that feeling of, oh my god, that you have to be, you know, it gives almost like a feeling sometimes of an extra burden, or now I have to think about meal prep. But actually, what the beauty of meal prep is that it's so simple, and you can eat the same food, you know, it's, you know, with leftovers and things like that, so you only have to cook actually, you know, a few amount of times. Obviously, you're making food for family as well. Whatever you cook for dinner, for example, can be used the next day to take for lunches and things like that. So it's all, again, it's the same principle as exercise. It really is about convenience. And meal prep is one of the best ways that you can do that. Somebody wrote to me, actually, I don't know if they're here now, but somebody wrote to me to say, like, what kind of, you know, things can I eat for breakfast? Because I'm not, you know, I can't eat breakfast in the morning. I have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. It makes me feel really, really sick to eat first thing in the morning. But then obviously by 10 o'clock, I'm starving, and then I might have, I don't know, 10 biscuits, because obviously I'm starving by that point, and I can't really leave my desk. I have to be on my desk all the time. So I haven't even really got time to, like, you know, pop into, I don't know, you know, into like a coffee shop or whatever. No, I have to be at my desk all the time. And what I proposed for her, for example, is you know, just something really easy, like a protein shake, for example. So protein shake could be, you know, always, I recommend more other way around. I recommend more vegetables in your shake more than fruit, like especially fruit with a lot of sugar content, like mango, banana, pineapple. Banana could be okay, one banana, but not, you know, really high sugar content, because obviously when you process it, when you liquidize it, it actually increases the sugar content as well. So sometimes that can cause kind of a spike and then a little bit of dip again. So, you know, a protein shake could be, for example, like a green smoothie, I don't know, like apples, berries, spinach, and a scoop of protein powder and some almond milk, something like that, something that you can have on your desk, ready to go. You don't need to get up, you don't need to do anything, and it's prepared. And that you can do the night before, and it takes like 2 minutes, or even less to do. Protein powder, somebody's just asked, how much protein do we need? That is such a good question, and I know at the moment protein is being, like, literally is such a buzzword, like how protein this, protein that, protein this, protein that. But protein is really, number one, it's dependent on how active you are. So it's not just one size fits all. I mean, it is really based on a calculation on your weight, on your height, and then on your fitness goals. In general, super general, without obviously knowing more, like, kind of more specific things, it's recommended to have, and this might sound really specific, but this is the recommendation, is around 0.8 to up to 2 grams of protein per your body weight. So I don't know, if you are, I don't know, let's say you're 60 kilos, we might want to be looking at around, on average, let's say 60 grams or to 120 grams, but I think that's really more kind of on the higher level. Let's say 60, 80, around that level of protein per day. And you can calculate that, and protein is really essential, obviously, for building muscle, for repairing muscle, and also for keeping us feeling fuller for longer. So, you know, those of us, for example, who are trying to lose weight, often the issue comes because you never feel full, because the food that you're eating, for example, isn't high enough in protein. So you might have something and then be like, oh, now I'm really hungry, or you go for a long time without eating, and then you have a lot of carbohydrates, which, by the way, are super necessary, but they're not necessarily going to give you that feeling of satiety, actually, that protein does. So it's really important, as somebody said, protein, yeah, how much protein do we need? Around that mark, but it is, of course, dependent on how active you are and obviously your weight and height as well. But something else which I wanted to kind of mention, which actually isn't mentioned enough, because protein is such a buzzword, is the importance of fiber in your diet as well. So if you're looking to now get back into routine, back into kind of meal prep, or just want to eat a little bit healthier, as of September, then the ideal would be to combine your protein with your fiber sources. So fiber could be something like berries, beans, pulses, legumes, anything like that, which will kind of help you feeling. Actually, fiber is really good for the gut health, it's really good for digestion, it's really good for cholesterol. So fiber is actually, for me, a little bit of the underdog, and it doesn't actually get the attention that it deserves. Chia seeds, flax seeds, almond butter, all of that is really, really good sources of fiber, and that will also contribute to help you feeling full. And that could be something like, I don't know, for your meal prep, Greek yogurt with some chia seeds, with some berries, a scoop of protein powder. For lunch or dinner, it could be any of these kind of fibrous vegetables, so green leaf vegetables, some quinoa. If you eat meat, you can have that with kind of, I don't know what you might eat, salmon, chicken, something like that. For the veggies, and somebody has just asked that now, so the timing is perfect. What are some good plant-based? Yeah. So I'm actually veggie myself. I eat cheese, but I don't eat eggs, and I don't eat anything else. And that is one of the hardest, I think, sometimes that's one of the hardest things, is actually hitting your protein target, but it is completely doable, completely doable. So, plant-based protein sources, my top ones are tofu. As you all might know, I probably think there's maybe not one day where I don't eat tofu. That's because it goes with everything. So tofu, tempeh, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, edamame beans, which are really good, and they're so tasty, and you can make like a little stir fry and put some edamame beans in it. Also fantastic. And yes, it is true, with beans you do have to be careful, because they can cause some indigestion issues, as somebody's just written here as well. So it really depends. I recommend more, sometimes the larger the bean, that kind of more, you can have more of an upset stomach, or it can cause indigestive problems. So I recommend something around the size of lentils, chickpeas even, black beans, something like that. Sometimes as you go, if you have too much, especially like kidney beans and really kind of a lot, it can upset your digestion. So you do also have to be a little bit wary of that as well. Guys, I'm loving your questions. Keep them coming. They are really, really, really good. I'm loving it. So somebody else has also written, best time to exercise. You know what? This is what it goes down to again, is really what fits into your lifestyle, what makes you, what works for you. There isn't a best time. It's not like, I should, if you exercise, I don't know, at 8 o'clock in the morning, that is the only way you're going to lose weight. No, it really depends on your lifestyle. It depends on you. It depends what you've got time for. And this is a little bit what I was mentioning at the beginning. I think exercise or anything, meal prep, nutrition, it has to be something that works for us, that we can fit into our lifestyle, and actually that we want to do. Because if someone said to you, you must meal prep, you must exercise at, 7 o'clock at night, actually the fact that someone even says you must, you say, actually I don't want to do it. So I think it's really all about what suits you, and then of course having an accountability partner, either through booking a class at the gym, putting an alarm on your phone and blocking that time for you, Or, you know, if you have an appointment, for example, personal training, obviously then you've got kind of that appointment as well. So anything that really keeps you accountable and that you want to do, you enjoy doing, is probably the best way to go for that. Yeah, oh my goodness, time is flying by. I'm loving it. So we've got, so that's a little bit kind of exercise-wise, a little bit nutrition-wise as well. And then the other things, I think somebody else asked me about sleep. So, you know, sleep is so important. Especially, you know, and I say that as well, it's really, exercise is actually 10%. It's, you know, it's not a lot, because sleep and nutrition make up the other 90%. Let's say sleep, nutrition, and then your recovery as well. That is really so key to not getting burnt out, to seeing progress in our goals, and not only that, for getting back into a routine as well. Because, you know, and I think this is something I really wanted to mention, because it happened to me as well, is sometimes we come back after a holiday and we feel so good and we feel so full of energy and we're so buzzing because we're kind of on that high, that like post-holiday high, that we go at 100 miles an hour and then we get sick. Also because there's lots of viruses around as well. And it can just be really kind of, it can be too much. So with these things, we always have to go quite slowly. Sorry, somebody's just written here as well. Yeah, how to stay hydrated, what to do with when you're sweating a lot. Sorry, that also goes back to somebody else's question that I missed out. Hydration, you know, sweating, it can be, honestly, it depends on the person. Like, I sweat a lot when I work out or when I'm walking. Some people don't sweat at all. Some people sweat a kind of I don't know, average amount. So it really depends, obviously, on your glands, how much kind of you produce and things like that. So it's not actually a bad thing if you sweat at all. It's a kind of a way of your body. Obviously, sweating in general is for actually our body to self-regulate, for it to keep cool when it is obviously in heat or, you know, working out, things like that. So in terms of hydration, on what you can do, I always recommend electrolytes. Electrolytes. I cannot recommend them enough, especially in the heat. What they do is they replace, obviously when we sweat we lose salt and minerals as well, and sweating, actually, even if you say, oh, we'll drink water, yes, drink water is important because you need to keep hydrated, you need to replenish the cells that have obviously lost that water through sweat. But water won't necessarily, it won't do everything, in the sense that water will provide hydration, but it won't replace the salt and minerals that you've lost through sweating, especially if you're somebody, like somebody's put here, their mum, who, you know, it gets very warm and gets very hot and needs kind of, you know, needs to keep very hydrated. So I always recommend electrolytes. I mean, I take them here as well. It's not, you don't need to be in a hot country to drink electrolytes at all. I mean, although I do wish it was a little bit warmer where we are, you don't need to be. It's just a way for you to replace and replenish your fluids, your minerals, your salt. So I always recommend that you can take electrolytes, for example, before a workout. I take it first thing in the morning. Also, I combine it with salt flakes and water, because your body overnight is obviously dehydrated. You haven't, you know, had any kind of fluid or anything for, I don't know, around 7 to 8 hours. And then post-workout as well, I recommend, just for replenishing. And then, of course, you know, even if it's somebody, imagine, I don't know what your mum does, for example, if she, I don't know if she works out or not, but for example, imagine she goes, I don't know, out for a walk, and she goes into town and she's like walking around all day, or she's been sweating, or I don't know where she lives either, and she comes home and she feels really kind of, obviously it's exhausting as well, it's quite draining. Electrolytes at that point as well would be perfect for her, because they will just give that kind of replenishing boost and just make you feel a bit more hydrated, and also can help your sugar level as well. So yeah, electrolytes, I'm all for it. And if you want to know which ones I recommend, it would be the High 50 Tropical. And somebody who's just asked as well about protein and protein powder, I always recommend the Form Nutrition. It's a plant-based protein powder, vanilla flavor, and I can send you as well the info on that. Here we go. What else? What is the best gentle exercise to do? So that is great. I love that question, because I was just talking about that. Someone else is like, yes, that's what they were thinking too. Amazing. So, gentle exercise. So this is what back to routine is all about. And that's what I was saying is, you know, sometimes you can go back and be like, woo, and then it's too quick. The body doesn't have time to readapt. And then what happens is you exhaust yourself, or you get sick because your immune system is lower. And so you go back to feeling a little bit, you know, worn out again. So what is the best gentle exercise? Again, I always say, obviously, whatever works for you. But my top, I think, number one, walking. Anyone can do it. You don't need, it doesn't cost anything. You don't need to kind of plan it. You can just go for a walk. And for me, for example, what I love to do as part of my new September routine, is actually go for a walk early in the morning. And I used to do it during when I had a burnout, and it was actually a key part of my recovery when I was back at home, is that before I would go to the gym or do anything, I would take myself super early in the morning, I used to be out in the fields by around 6:30, and I used to just have that time for myself, and the sun was obviously rising at that time, so it was so beautiful. And it's amazing what walking and sunlight first thing in the morning can do for you, mentally as well as physically. Obviously, walking is great. It's light cardio. You know, if you have issues with your knees, with your ankles, hips, anything like that, is something which is very gentle, very low impact. And combine that with sunshine, I guarantee you will come back and you will feel, honestly, like a new person. Absolutely like a new person. I can't recommend it enough. Now, that's someone who, I'm more of a morning person. If that doesn't work for you because you're not a morning person, we're not all morning people, evening walk or lunchtime walk, or if you're at your desk, I don't know, in an office, and you know it's not an option for you to go out for half an hour because you don't have that time. I know a lot of you are actually working in really high pressure jobs. Sometimes what I do is actually just walk, I don't know, down a couple of flights of stairs, for example. So instead of, I don't know, if I want to, I don't know, go to the printer, I might go to the printer on, I don't know, a different floor, 2 floors down. So at least I've got that exercise to go up and go back down again. So anything which, again, fits into you, which can keep you active. And if you are really looking for a kind of a type of exercise, so apart from walking, I love Pilates. Love. I started doing it 10 years ago, which is crazy. Over 10 years ago, and then I kind of actually stopped it for a while. And I'm now back into it again, actually I'm taking lessons, and I absolutely love it. It is gentle, low impact, but it is really deep as well. So all of the movements that you do, super low impact, super kind of can be adapted to injuries or anything like that, but you are really engaging and working all of those muscles, which I feel that actually sometimes you're not doing. When you do a HIIT class, it's more just about especially if it's a group class, quick, and I think sometimes you're not engaging the muscles properly, and then it can lead to injury and things like that. So I just think with Pilates, it's a really good way for the mind, first of all, just to kind of relax. Yoga, same principle, and actually just really kind of create that connection with movement, that deep movement, and also that mindfulness, which is why also now with Dynamis, for example, we do the sculpt and stretch. We have a mini retreat coming up, which I'm so excited about, in case you can make it as well. Now I'm going to talk about everything that we've got coming up, but on the 25th of October, so I can't wait for that as well. And that's actually one of the reasons why I do sculpt and stretch, because I think that people need as well, and people enjoy, based on my experience as well, that kind of gentle movement where you don't have to, it's a kind of a low impact, but it's also this kind of mindfulness, relaxing way of moving as well. And I think that that feeling that we get after doing exercise is so, it gives you such a kind of a boost, and also mentally as well, that it makes you want to kind of go back and do it again. It is addictive in that sense. And that's a great way for resetting your September routine as well. Try a Pilates class, try going for a walk, see how that feels, see how your body reacts. I think it's really important as well that we are in tune with our body, that we understand how we work best, how our body responds to things as well. Some people, they say, I don't like yoga and Pilates, it's too slow, I just want something where I can go boom boom boom, and get it all out of my system, and I love doing that way. Fine, if that's what works for you, but I think for the question that we had, gentle exercise, that is one of the best things that you can do, especially walking. I cannot, oh my goodness, for me it's got no price. It really is just, yeah, it's amazing. So that is for that. And what else was I going to say? Oh my goodness, because we're coming almost to the end. I just want to talk about sleep actually really quickly. Somebody sent a question into me in advance about sleep. I don't know if they're here or not, but if you are, the question about how to create a really a kind of a more solid sleep routine. A lot of people suffer from not being able to sleep properly, and I really think that's because, well, first of all, it's because we lead such busy lives right now. I mean, crazy busy, and I think we don't have that time to switch off anymore, which is why the importance of a wind down routine is just key, especially now if we talk about resetting and getting back into a routine for September. I think one of the best things, especially as well, talking about what we did before, what we said before about during summer, for example, where you're kind of eating much later, you're eating completely different foods, you're sleeping much later. Yes, oh my goodness, 100%. The change of the seasons as well, the body clock is also changing. It's really difficult to sleep. So how can I make that transition? And I think the answer really lies in the wind down routine and keeping a consistent, first of all, wind down routine, and also consistent bedtime, because that will help you adapt to the changes in the weather. It also helps regulate the circadian rhythm as well, which regulates the quality of sleep that we have. So I really advise, and it happens to me as well, sometimes if I go to bed almost too quickly without having let my brain switch off, I'm disrupted. Then of course, as the seasons are changing now, so it's getting slightly darker earlier, which makes you feel like, or your body is sending you signals to say, okay, it's probably time to go to bed, earlier than we would have done, for example, in summer, where in the UK it's light, and I mean here as well, in the UK it's light till like about 10:30, 11 o'clock, especially in the north. So your body clock also changes. So I really, for me, one of the key tips is a wind down routine. And people say, well, how do I create you that? What is that all about, And I really recommend, screens are so bad for disrupting the quality of sleep that we have, because they actually, with this kind of blue light that they have, it actually sends signals back to the brain, and it actually does the opposite of what we want to do before bed. So if you're scrolling and then you switch off your phone, I've done it as well before, you watch Netflix and then you go to bed, chances are the quality of sleep that you have is not going to be that good, and you are going to, maybe even if you have, it's easy for you to fall asleep, it's going to be really difficult, or you might, I don't know, experience kind of interrupted sleep. So I always recommend pop your phone at least 30 minutes before bed, do not disturb mode, sleep mode. Don't look at your phone. It's really it's the easiest thing to say, I know now, because we're all like addicted to our phones, but it really, that time away from the phone will already kind of relax the brain. It kind of will already sort of let the brain calm down a little bit. Then something which I recommend, which I absolutely love, and I recommend it to my clients as well, also for their recovery, is either a hot shower or a bath with magnesium sea salts. That is really relaxing for the muscles. It's also great for recovery, and it's really something that you can do. Just get in the bath, nice and warm. It makes you feel really relaxed. It slows down as well your heart rate. You feel much more calm, much more relaxed. Obviously you might need to drink some water as well, depending on how hot your bath or shower is. Keep hydrated, don't pass out. But you know, hot bath and shower before you go to bed, and you just feel kind of clean, calm, relaxed, a little bit kind of fresh as well after the day. And then something which I absolutely love doing, which really helps me as well, is reading. So it just switches your mind off. And that doesn't have to be, you know, it can be whatever you enjoy reading. You know, what shall I read, or what, anything you want, anything that you find interesting that will relax you. Like for me sometimes, like what I'm doing recently as well, is I've got lots of travel books. So I'm just like looking in travel books as well and being like, oh look, this is a travel book. I don't know, now I've got like Japan on my mind. So like, where would I go if, you know, or what do they do? Where can I visit in Japan? Or what do they do in Japan? Do you know, just something just to like switch your mind off a little bit as well. Journaling is also great for that. It's the brain dump. It really, really works. Either last thing at night, first thing in the morning, you just write down everything that's in your mind, and that can really help you almost to deload, because you've visualized it, you've actually made it concrete what these feelings are in your head, and then you've almost said, okay, look, I've got it out of my mind now, it's on paper, it's done, it's out of the way. And that will actually, I think, really does help support a good night's sleep. So it's all of these things. It's about, you know, the mind, it's about the body feeling relaxed. Sometimes if we haven't moved enough as well, if we've just been sat all day, when it comes to bedtime, we're not feeling really that tired physically, even if mentally we're exhausted, but physically we still feel kind of active, like we haven't moved. So if that's how you're feeling, it could be one day you feel like that, one day not, however you feel. But if you do feel like that on one day, well, you know, what about a little walk before you go for bed? Just, you know, around the block, after dinner, before dinner, something like that, something that will just let you just switch off a little bit and then go back to sleep. That's something which I think is kind of, it will help as well with the transitions. And this consistent bedtime is really key. It's really key, because actually your body, that's how your body regulates, that's how the circadian rhythm regulates itself as well, is putting yourself to bed and waking up at a consistent time. And those hours before midnight are really golden hours. So, you know, if you can establish that routine, and it could be, you know, talking about now going back to routine after the summer holidays, getting back into the routine, try, and especially if you've got kids and you're finding it difficult to, you know, get them back into routine, just try 15 minutes going every day or every few days. Try to go to bed 15 minutes earlier, just 15 minutes earlier, and just see if that will, if that helps you and that kind of settles you back in. So instead of going straight from, I don't know, going to bed at, I don't know, whatever time you go to bed, midnight, say, I don't know, midnight on holiday, to going to bed at 10 o'clock. Obviously, it's going to be far too early. You're never going to sleep at 10 o'clock because your body's not used to sleeping at 10. But you could try, for example, I don't know, so instead of going at midnight, then you go at 10:45 to midnight, 11:30, you work back, and gradually you establish that timetable so your body also changes. Meal times might adjust as well. It's all part of one, really. And something else that I have just gotten as well, I was just saying, so yeah, somebody asked about how, in general, what a good routine is. You know, that's such a big question. Or how can I even get started? For me, what I really advise is, and what helps me actually, especially at the moment that, you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in terms of, you know, jobs and dynamics and everything else on top. So it really is a kind of a juggle. But what really helps me, and what I advise to anyone in any case, regardless of your situation, is actually planning. Sunday's a really good day, especially now if you're thinking about you want to get back into routine or you want to change things. Actually, I think that's also the key, is you want to change things that you didn't, now in September, now that it's a new year, which you didn't do before, or new kind of things you want to introduce. For me, weekly planning is such a gem. It really is my lifeline, and I always use Sundays as my reset day. Every Sunday, I use it actually, and it doesn't take a long amount of time, but maybe half an hour, and I go through my diary and I check my calendar. So I check my work calendar. I'm also checking what with my clients, checking what sessions I've got with them, checking what other appointments I've got, my priorities as well for this week. What do I want? Even in terms down to my workouts, I plan, okay, I don't know, on Monday, what am I going to do? On Tuesday, what am I going to do? Because I think the more you can take the load off yourself, the easier it is. Because a lot of the time, the reason we don't do anything is not because we're lazy, it's not because we don't want to, it's actually just because the thought of it is so overwhelming that actually our mind blocks, and then we're like, actually I don't want to do anything, I can't do anything because my mind, I'm so overwhelmed. So if you break it down, especially your weekly routine, which is for most, it's a crazy period of time, if you break that down, so you already know, you don't even have to think about it, it's done for you. So okay, Monday, I'm going to work, and then I'm going to go on a walk, done. On Tuesday, my kids have got these activities, but I've got 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, I'm going to go and grab a coffee for myself. Anything like that will just give you that breathing space, can be so beneficial, and it can be so useful, and it can just actually deload your mind, which is really what it's all about. When creating a routine, is about having something sustainable, and actually something small, these small gradual kind of steps or activities or things that we introduce that we enjoy doing, and actually that fit into our lifestyle. Not that means that we have to turn everything around, do a 360 and then do it to be able to kind of accommodate it. No, it has to be the other way around. So for me, planning, and it can sound really kind of boring, but it is such a lifesaver. And I promise you, even if you just did it, even just for the next day ahead, it just gives you that clarity in your mind. Okay, this is what I'm going to do, and just saves. I feel it saves a lot of kind of extra stress as well. So these are kind of the key things, I think. I don't know if anyone's got any last kind of questions, or I don't know, comments, or anything else you want to share before we end the live. I'm just seeing now if anyone's gonna write anything, but I really hope you found this useful. We are going to be, this is only the first, this is almost like the test run. Now that I also know how to do it, we will be doing more of these. So keep your eyes peeled, and I just love doing them because, as I said, like before on my stories, it's just a way to have a chat, and I think also to meet, to speak to other people that, I think since COVID we don't really do anymore. So yeah, and also just swap tips, guidance, anything you want. So keep your eyes peeled. We will be doing more of these, and also, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And we will be doing more of these. People are really happy. We will 100% be doing more of these. So just keep your eyes peeled, and I cannot wait to see more of you soon. As always, don't hesitate to contact me. My DMs are always open. Drop me a message, and I will get back to you. Otherwise, I wish you all a really strong start to the week, a really great start to the week. I love this month. There's so much positive energy. There's so much great energy in September. So I think, as much as you can jump on that train and take advantage, I'm sure it will work out and in your favor too. So otherwise, have a lovely rest of the evening, a great start to the week, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Okay, see you soon, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.